Hello, it's Andy Graham with the Ask Andy Show. I've traveled nonstop for 16 plus years and went to 90 countries. Got a question here, not really a question. Dan L. says, "Hi Andy, love your blog. My wife and I will be, well, I guess it is a question. I will be leaving in 10 days for China, Tianjin. I don't know where that is, where I'll be teaching at an international high school for 2 years. Have you traveled in China? And do you have any tips for long-term visitors? Any difference between living there and, say, Latin America, aside from the language?" Okay, my first impression was, is there any difference between China and Central and South America? Night and day. This is a whole other world. I always laugh when people go to Europe. Europe is like 2%, 3% different than America. Canada is like 0.5%, right? And they always think they're different. Europe is just minor differences between Europeans and Americans. I think I don't go to Australia because I remember hearing some Australians having a Big Mac attack, and I go, "Hey, they're talking about Big Macs at McDonald's." I like to go to cultures that are different. China is radically different than Central and South America, and I went into China. I went in from Nepal. You have to take a tour to go through Tibet. At least you used to. I'm not sure you still do, but we took a 12-day tour across Tibet, which is a horrible place. It's just a big rock. Very beautiful rock. So a bunch of traveling in the thing and a bunch of, it's basically a Buddhist monastery tour. And then we went to Lhasa, and then we took a plane over to this other place that's just north of Lhasa, where we could catch a plane to Beijing, and then we took the train to Mongolia. I haven't spent that long in China, maybe a month right there, and I do know that it's difficult. They do not speak. Okay, when you don't have the Roman characters and you got these Chinese characters and you're trying to read signs, you don't have any idea what you're looking at, right? And that is a problem. And it's going to be a challenge to realize how isolated you are. I want to go to China. My biggest problem is that it's not always warm, right? And China's a very big place, and I also don't like countries where there's no girls. So I really don't understand. My friend Wade's over there, but he's got a wife, and he's not really a guy that ever, chase girls, I don't think. When I say chase girls, I just mean I say that as a macho way. I like countries where I could intermarry with the cultures and I could actually become part of the community. And I'm not sure China I would ever be anything but a foreigner. And that's not really that fun. I mean, in Central and South America, I can actually, marry one of the locals, become part of the thing. In most of Africa, I can marry one of the locals, become part of the community. But China's really racist against Americans. China, Japan, Korea, Thailand, all these places are very racist against Americans. They consider us the soiled bunch. It's the same in India. We're like soiled, like we're going to get something dirty. Okay? And you don't hear about it because it's so prevalent that they have no freedom of speech, right? My tips on China. I would say my biggest tip on anywhere in China, Southeast Asia, it's something I learned this in Korea. Stay close to the transportation. When I say that, if there's a bus line that goes around the city, try to live close to it so you never get lost and you always get back on that bus and come back home. Because asking directions back home can be incredibly difficult. When I was in South Korea trying to get to my hostel, they wrote all the words in English. Of course, nobody in Korea can read English, right? Very few people, and then they didn't really know where the place was and they couldn't help me get to the hostel. I actually stayed very close to the subway and things. But the only thing I know in China is that to make your life simple, you need to stay close to the transportation. And, you need to be, when you're in a place where you can't ask for directions back home, you always make sure that you have a business card with you that is in Chinese, not English. Anything written in English isn't going to do you any good. And then that thing's got to be able to give you directions back to your hotel, and then you get a taxi. And then sometimes when I'm really worried, I just walk straight away or straight back until I know the neighborhood. Because you can get lost, guys. I will say don't live and die with translators. Translators edit the world for you, and they make you see only the things that the translator wants you to see, and they don't see the real world. I really want you to avoid translators. They tend to be always working an angle. Try to learn some of the language, and that'll open doors. You know, ni hao. How do I say hello in Chinese? Ni hao. They used to say hello to me in Africa in Chinese because they always thought I was Chinese. Go figure. Those are my things. So you stay close to a transportation that's reliable. If you have a bus that goes around in a circle or goes straight back and forth and comes back to your place where you live, you don't want to isolate yourself. You don't want to probably buy a car. That would be crazy. You don't want to have to drive in these places until you're really there for a long time. And you need to figure out a taxi driver that is your taxi driver that somehow knows where you live and come get you, can come get you anywhere you're at, and make him like your chauffeur. And you call him up, you get his phone number, then you change phone numbers. You should always have a cell phone with you so that you can call up this taxi driver or places like that, or you can call up somebody that you know that can help you to get back, and you'll be okay. But don't get a rush, and don't think that your whole trip there is to be a tourist. Go slow. I would say walk a lot more than you take transportation, and you'll have a real nice time. Some reason people think that they're greedy with their lives, and they try to see anything and everything in China, and that's one reason why I haven't gone to China much, is because it's such a big country. I obviously could spend a year and a half there. But it gets cold in places, and I don't really. Right now I'm more preoccupied with Europe. Oh, I'm preoccupied with Europe or Africa. I'd really like to go to Russia, probably more than I would China. And I think it's probably the same problems. But those are my tips. Thank you. Is there any difference? Anything different? They're radically different, guys.
We can